I needed a fan. I am getting so hot now that I'm like in my second trimester. I just find myself getting much warmer. So yeah. Okay, in today's video, I really wanted to do this list of 10 things we do not do as a family that may be against norms or not. I've seen some of these like kind of floating around in my YouTube, videos, and they're being recommended to me. So I've watched a few of them, and some of them we did do, some of the things we didn't do. And yeah, I just thought it would be a fun little video to make and share with y'all like what our family doesn't do. With that being said, let's go ahead and get started with the 10 things we do not do as a family. Number 1, we do not cook separate meals for our children, that is. So I have quite a few friends who do this, and they know that we don't do this, and they do, and it works for their family. But for us, I grew up like, this is what's for dinner, and my husband did too, which is very convenient, but this is what we're making for dinner, and you either eat it or you don't. And so that is how we do things. I will not make, like, my husband and I a nice meal and then make my kids something like, chicken nuggets or mac and cheese or something that they'll eat, because they most likely wouldn't be interested in something like what we're making. Or what we've made for the adults. I don't do that. We find it's just much easier to make a meal as a family, and we all eat the same thing. We tell our kids, you at least have to try it. If you don't like it, that's fine. But that's it. We're not making a separate meal. Number 2, we do not watch TV other than movie nights. So we have a tradition where every Friday we watch a movie night as a family. We kind of just pick a movie together and make some popcorn and some snacks or what have you. But throughout the weekend, and definitely during the weekdays other than movie night, we do not watch TV. The kids, I should say, do not watch TV. I actually don't watch very much TV at all. I'm a reader, so I prefer to read or watch YouTube videos in the background, or an audiobook if I'm like moving around and stuff. But we do not really watch TV at all. In fact, we used to not own a TV. I remember with like our first 2 kids, and we'd have people come over and think we were so strange. And I don't know why we ended up getting the TV. My husband is really big into F1 racing, and so I think that's why we ended up getting it, because he was watching it on his phone or a laptop, and we do enjoy watching the races as a family. So basically our TV, I should say, our TV time is very limited as a family. It's not something we do every day. It's rare the TV even gets put on every day. So yeah, we're not huge on TV. It's not something we're really about. Number 3, and those of you who have been following along or know me know that we do not do school, or public school, I should say. I have been homeschooling now, which is so crazy. I'm on my 5th year. It's just so insane. Yeah, so I started a year before COVID happened, and I can't believe that it's already been that long. So anyways, yeah, we've been homeschooling for about 5 years. We love it. We plan to continue to homeschool through high school, everything. I don't plan on putting my kids back in public school. I have my moments. I have had my moments, especially in the beginning when you're trying to like figure out your rhythm and how you really want to homeschool. For me, it was difficult in the beginning, mostly because my oldest daughter was in public school in the very beginning, and so I was trying to emulate that kind of school. And I went to public school. I was not homeschooled as a child, so that's the only schooling I really knew. So I had to adjust, and I will say that whole like taking time off when you decide to go from public school to homeschool and just not doing anything for a few months, that really helped, because you really had to learn to disconnect from that type of schooling that most of us grew up doing or know. Number 4, we do not do sleepovers. So my kids have never had a sleepover ever. We just feel safer that way. When I was growing up, I have gone to some sleepovers. My mom and my stepdad I don't think they were the biggest fans of them, but I think they also felt like, that we should let them go. But to be honest, like, there's so many different things that happen at sleepovers, and I would much rather have people stay at my house. Like, my girls can have sleepovers here, but I just don't feel comfortable with our girls going to sleepovers. It's just something my husband and I agree with. Some of you may not agree with that. Maybe we're being a little too much, but it just works for our family, and we feel very confident in that decision. Number 5 is we do not allow any inappropriate clothes. Can you imagine? Any inappropriate clothes for our daughters. I think especially because we have only daughters. It's really hard nowadays because it's crazy when I go shopping for them. It's really hard to find modest clothes. I feel like it's even getting like this way the younger and younger you are. Like, I've seen little toddler outfits where they have crop tops and things like that, which I'm just blown away by. But now I have an 11-year-old daughter and a soon-to-be 9-year-old. It's just so bizarre to me how it shouldn't be so hard, I should say, to go clothes shopping for them, which I have found that it really is. I don't know. I'm like, a lot of these things I'm finding are like super short shorts, crop tops. We don't really even let them go out with spaghetti straps. We want them to have, now we're not super picky. I don't want to sound like we're super picky or anything. We want them to look cute and stylish and nice, but also very modest. Like, I consider myself someone who dresses modest, so I want my kids, my daughters, to also respect themselves, and we just don't feel comfortable with them leaving the house, dressed in some of the more provocative ways that unfortunately we see a lot of young girls wear. So it kind of makes me sad a little bit. But yeah, we do not allow our daughters to wear those types of clothing. I understand that they're stylish and all that, but I will say that is one of the benefits of homeschooling, is that my girls are not feeling pressure to dress a certain way or have certain things because they are homeschooled, right? They don't have their peers whispering in their ear, what have you. So yeah, no inappropriate clothing here. Number 6 is we do not give cell phones to our children. So none of our kids have cell phones. This is a crazy one because, I grew up obviously with no cell phone until I was 16 and I could have a job and afford to pay for my own cell phone. That is how I got a cell phone. I was never provided one as a kid from my mom. Granted, when I grew up, we didn't have very much, so I wasn't expecting one or anything, but I had to work really hard to have a cell phone. And it's even harder now for younger kids because it's not just the fact that they have a cell phone, which in my opinion I don't believe they need, but also we have all of these apps and social media is extremely dangerous for kids. It's even hard for adults to get, have some sort of control over their social media usage and just the things that we see. But there's so much information out there that I recommend that you go out and research, because it's not something we want to give our kids. Now, I will tell you this crazy story, which I have a friend back in Arizona who was a teacher, but now she's a substitute teacher for junior high kids, and she teaches history. So we're having this conversation about cell phones. Her kids go to public school, whereas mine are homeschooled, and we were talking about phones, and I told her, I'm like, oh yeah, my plan is to not give my kids a cell phone until they can get a job and pay for their own phone. So that, at least that's what I think I want to do. I don't know, time will tell, but I've heard of the Gab phones, and that's kind of been a little like, okay, it's piqued my interest a bit, but to be honest, none of my kids even need one. So with that being said, my girlfriend in Arizona, she was teaching a class one day, and in the beginning of class, she said, okay, I just want to let you guys know, if I see your cell phone, if I see any cell phones whatsoever, I will take them, and then you can grab them at the end of class. So the class went on, and she saw a girl with a cell phone, and she went ahead and took the phone from her. She said, okay, you can come, at the end of class and grab the phone. So she put it in a little drawer. At the end of class, she had a group of girls come up to her desk, and my friend had said, okay, whose phone does this belong to? And there were 4 girls, and they said, it's all of ours. And my friend was like, what do you mean? Her name's Jessie, by the way. So my friend Jessie was like, what do you mean? Like, whose phone is this? And they had said, well, it's all of our phones. Our parents don't let us have a cell phone. So we shared this phone. We use our allowance money, and we went and bought a phone, and we take turns. So every week they switch over, or they had some sort of system where they switched every few days or every week, what have you. And this way they had a phone. And I just thought, okay, well, first, that's brilliant and genius, but also that's so scary, because that's what I would be afraid of, especially if my kids went to public school. Not only do you have pressure and bullying happening if you don't have a cell phone, even as young as like elementary school, but then you have a situation like this where I feel like that's even more scary, because at least if you're an adult and you have, you gave your child a cell phone, right? You have a little more, well, first of all, you are aware that they have a cell phone, which allows you to also, monitor their time on it and check on it, things of that sort. But if you have no idea whatsoever, then you aren't there to monitor and to check and make sure that they're being responsible with their phone, right? So I just thought that was insane. So I totally understand why there are parents out there that give their kids cell phones. I do not judge whatsoever. It's just that we do not do cell phones, and I will say I think it's easier to get away with that because my kids are homeschooled. Now, I know we have friends, my daughter has friends who go to public school who have cell phones that their parents are aware of, and they are not allowed to have social media. They only have it when they're at school. When they get home, they get their phone taken away from them, or they have a certain amount of time. And I think that works great, so yeah. But personally, we do not do cell phones, and I really don't know. I like to say that we'll wait till they get their job and do it like we did, but I understand at the same time that, times are different. Okay, number 7 is kind of weird, but true. We do not do 2 cars. We have 1 car that we love, and we just don't need 2 cars. We really like to be together as a family, so it's either we're all driving together or I'm just driving. But I will say that the reason I think we can get away with this is because my husband works from home, and I am a homemaker, right? I stay home. So we don't have a need for 2 cars. We would just have 2 cars for no reason. Now, I will say there have been times, especially recently with my mom's health, where I had to be gone for, almost every day, all day, and my husband was at home with the kids, and I would think, oh my gosh, this is where it would be convenient to have a second car, like if there was an emergency of some sort. And my husband wasn't really interested in dropping me off because, meetings or what have you, and he would be homeschooling them and trying to balance those things. But long story short, we do not have 2 cars. Even when my husband was going into the office, we only had 1 car. And I honestly have to say, I do miss those days. We would drive him to work, and then we'd pick him up. And I know that sounds like a lot, but it was cheaper than having 2 car payments. And We are completely out of debt now, so we own our car, but it's just so, I don't know, I miss those days. Yeah, sometimes it was like, okay, we gotta go get dad or whatever. But at that time too, like my oldest was going to school, and so it was really convenient. Yeah, so anyway, we do not do 2 cars. We only have 1 car. We really like it that way. I don't know if that'll change in the future, but I assume that that will stay for quite some time. Number 8 might sound a little, I don't know, off, but, and it's not that we're trying to be difficult or anything, but we don't do battery powered toys. The exception is if my kids, you know, they have their jobs, they have their chores that they have to do, and then they have extra jobs that they can earn money for. So if they save up their money and they decide to buy something, like they bought these Tamagotchis, my older 2 girls, they saved that up with their own money, and those things were draining batteries, but we were not buying the batteries for them. Once they realized how expensive the batteries were, they'd get like a pack of like AAAs or whatever, and they would work together and put their money together to go buy a pack of batteries and switch these things out. They got over the Tamagotchis real fast because batteries are not cheap. And so they were on them, and they were like the big ones, like the new party ones, or I don't know, something, not like the OG Tamagotchis, right, where you have like 3 buttons and whatever. These were like much bigger, so they took a lot of juice. So even if they weren't on them for very long, it drained the battery and they'd have to put new ones in. So that is the exception. If my kids saved up their money and they bought their own thing that requires batteries, then that's on them, and you know, they earned that. But we do not personally buy any battery powered toys. Just too much noise. Most of it's like super annoying, honestly, and my kids get really like bored of it. You know, it's like exciting and new and fun, and so they're like really into it for like literally a week, and then after that they're over it. It's done. And then sometimes you just have like in this toy box, like anytime you throw toys in there, it's like this thing goes off and you're like, what is that? And the only other reason we would have a battery powered toy, that's a tongue twister, a battery powered toy, is if they were for a gift. You know, we're not going to be rude and turn down a gift or anything like that. My kids will enjoy it, and then later on, when they, you know, are kind of over it or what have you, we will donate that item. Number 10 is, this one might also be controversial, but we do not spank our kids. We've never spanked one of our children ever. And this is a personal thing. I know that there are a lot of people who still spank their kids. I know also it's kind of been like this growing thing where there are people who don't spank their kids now. I'm not saying we do gentle parenting, because we don't. I don't consider myself a gentle parenting type of style at all, but one thing we just don't do spanking. I was spanked as a kid. I didn't like it. I never really learned anything from it, and I didn't understand why you would do that. So for me, it's just really hard. Same with my husband. He has like, we wouldn't feel good spanking our children. I don't care how mad I've been at them. I've never felt the urge to spank them or to discipline them in that way. We have other ways that we discipline our kids, and I will say that our kids are very well behaved, and we have done that without spanking. Now, it's work. It takes time. It takes effort. It's not an easy job, right? You have to be consistent. You have to mean what you say. But yeah, I refuse to spank my children, and I'm very grateful that I have a partner who agrees and feels the same way. And yeah, we do not spank. It's not something that we practice in our home. Okay, number 10 is, we don't do birthday parties. I'm not saying we've never done them before, but the past few years, with an exception to one, because we were moving states, and we thought, okay, well, this would be a good way to kind of celebrate with everybody. But we stopped doing birthday parties. I found that not only was I spending a ton of money, but spending a lot of time and stressing a lot about, you know, the birthday, because when I do, like, when I've done events or when I do things like hobbies or things that I'm really interested in, I can be a perfectionist with them. So I spend days planning and all of this time getting all the details right and blowing up, making balloon arches and all of this stuff, getting fancy cakes, you name it, I have done it. And my husband always joked like, oh, I feel like this is more of a party or a celebration for you when you went into labor, more so than it was for the kids. And yeah, I'm like, now I can laugh back on it because I'm like, no, that's not true. But I'm like, well, was it? Long story short, we do not do birthdays. In fact, today is one of my daughter's birthdays. She turned 7, which is crazy to think about. And typically what we like to do is we go and like to do an activity. They get to buy something, you know, a toy that they've been wanting or whatnot. So they get to do that, and then we go out to dinner as a family, and either we bake a cake or we buy a cake, and we spend time as a family, and it's been great and wonderful, and we still get to celebrate them, and it feels very special and intentional. And I'm not running around like a crazy person. And yeah, so we don't do birthday parties. We don't mind going to birthday parties and everything. That's all fun. But it's just so much easier and one less thing that I have to worry about, and my kids really enjoy like picking what activity they want to do instead of having to host everybody and have, you know, all this craziness go on. That was 10 things we do not do as a family. I'm gonna throw in number 11 as a bonus, and that is we do not do nurseries. Now I think nurseries are beautiful. Sometimes I'm like, oh my gosh, I'd like to do one just because, like, they would be beautiful to decorate. It's one of my passions is to decorate. So it's just that's the only bummer, I guess, or the downside of not doing nurseries. But we've never had a nursery. I have almost 5 kids. I'm expecting baby number 5, and not once have we had one. We never found a need for them. We actually co-sleep from the beginning, and we co-sleep with our kids. Really, so far it's been until we've had another baby. So we co-sleep with my 3-year-old. I know it's in the Western world, it's not very common. I think it's starting to grow a little bit, but I know in other countries and areas that co-sleeping is very big where they're from. And yeah, it's just what we've always felt very comfortable. I don't know. I can't imagine like just putting my baby in a separate room and keeping them there. I am so like, I'm like addicted to my child, like my baby, especially when they're newborns. I have a really hard time being separated from them. We either co-sleep in bed or in the bassinet. And so yeah, we just don't do nurseries. I know that one's kind of hard because, like, again, the decorating in such cute rooms, but we just find that it works for us. It always has. We absolutely love it. We wouldn't change it for the world, and it's just such a great bond that we enjoy having with our kids. That sums up this video. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys have any questions or comments, leave them down below, and I hope to see you guys all in my next one. Bye!